Hey guys, just I'm speaking directly to the audience here. Just so you know, on this film, we're talking about a new movie. It's out in release right now, and there are absolutely going to be spoilers. So if you're super interested in watching this without having anything spoiled for you, go ahead and watch it. Come back. YouTube is always there for you.
Kajillionaire.
Kajillionaire.
Can I go first?
Wow.
I enjoyed this
Who
movie.
wants to go first on this thing?
I enjoyed
a
this.
lesbian version of Napoleon Dynamite.
I fucking hated these people.
I so hated this movie.
That's great, Jim.
I didn't hate the movie. I hated everyone in it.
I hated
Well,
the
it took me
idea
a while
of
to
it.
get with it because
I like the dad.
Okay, you know what? Let's get. You know what? I want to get John. So he never kicks these off. I want to get John to kick off on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It did take me a while to get with it because the three main characters are so repellent.
Yes.
You know, they're borderline, you know, they got some kind of personality disorders, obviously. And the whole thing was quite mannered. And I think there's always a danger with I think I felt this in the first Miranda July feature, and I felt it here, is that she's an artist. Everything's kind of mannered. There's always the danger of it kind of going twee. You know, like
Yeah,
the Wes
that
Anderson.
word. We'll
Or
come up with that word later.
It's too like
Artificial.
there's artificial to it.
Well, it's like a
But-
bad Coen Brothers movie.
But
Well, or
but she-
sorry, that killing a sacred deer dude.
yeah, but
yeah.
she redeems it, I think, because she's actually interested in human emotions. And
Mhm.
once the Michelle Rodriguez character shows up, and she's so great.
It's not Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh,
It's
Gina
Gina.
Rodriguez. Gina Rodriguez. Sorry.
No, the microphone properly helped that part.
Just edit that, Scott.
And
Yeah,
I will
cut that out.
go. That's staying in, man. That's great.
Whatever the fuck her name is, she's good,
Uh-huh.
and that's where the movie takes off, I think.
She's great.
Oh, she has affect.
Right.
She's
Yeah,
got
you need that.
gusto. She's got
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this movie. Like, I didn't think it was great. Like, I thought it was an acceptable way to spend, 106 minutes or whatever it is. I wasn't repelled by Evan Rachel Wood's character at all. I felt sorry for her the entire time. I think they did a really good job of making her the victim in this.
I was more repelled by her parents.
Oh yeah, well no,
I
I'm
was more repelled by her voice.
Oh, you mean her voice? She talks like I know. She talks like the snuffleupagus the entire movie.
Because
I
just need to like get that paycheck and make it.
I know, and my name is Old
I
Dolio
can't, my
because it
name's
makes no.
Old Dolio. And I'm like, why are we like? Listen, if you want to tell a story with real emotion, you can't have your character in a voice that's
Hey,
like.
look, maybe she had a speech impediment.
Yeah. That's entirely what the film is about. She was
Yeah.
raised by parents who never treated her like a daughter, and so she had to learn how to be a human being at age 28. That's the whole point of the film.
Sure, I get that, but it didn't have like I didn't really care for this film, and I'm a fan of this writer director. In fact, her best work are her books. I don't know if any of you, but I have her like first two books, and they're really amazing. She writes her first book is a collection of short stories, and she is a tremendous writer. She's a better writer than she's a filmmaker, in my opinion. But she's also a big time performance artist. I don't know if you guys have. I've like actually looked up all her short films and stuff, like performative. Like she's really really smart. And John is right. Like underneath everything, she cares about human emotion in all of her work, and she really is phenomenal. But she's not the best filmmaker in the world, in my opinion. And if anyone saw her second feature called The Future, does anyone?
Didn't see it.
No, it's the first one I've seen of hers.
All right, so but me and you and everyone we know, anyone?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, that was good. I like that film.
I like So that one was I thought it was really wonderful and beautiful, and
That's full of recognizable human beings. But please go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm a little bit with you there, Scott. Like
Okay.
I really do. I think that this film wasn't terrible, but it doesn't reach the levels for me of humanity that she wanted to reach. It's definitely not Me and You and Everyone We Know. It's definitely not her novel or her short stories and her novels. There's I mean, to be honest, that voice just first of all, when you know it's Evan Rachel Wood, I don't know, maybe cast someone who's less known, but even if you are going to do that, that voice took me out of it. I will say my favorite part of the whole film actually was the bathroom sequence.
Oh yeah, but that was fantastic.
So when it turns into, you know, basically space or night.
No.
But still her voice kind of ruined it. And I'm like, this is such a beautiful moment.
Mhm.
Why do you have to have that stupid fucking voice?
Like,
but there's a lot of and Gina Rodriguez is, you know,
Isn't
like
she a relative of
huge
Michelle Rodriguez?
beacon in this darkness, right? She's like this, and the reason why, and if you read you read any of the reviews or watch any of the, you know, Gina is getting praised because she's basically like the best thing about kind of a mediocre to shitty movie, you know.
I think I really liked after the bathroom scene is I liked the part where they come out into the world and she goes and she's talking to the guy.
Yeah, the guy that got gas.
Yeah, and then who, by the way, I just want to point out that guy is in Public Enemies for like 9 seconds, and I recognized him in this, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's that guy!"
I literally haven't expected you to say that guy is like your neighbor.
No. I don't live in Toronto.
It's like nobody is my.
Then they go into the convenience store, and then there's the whole scene with her in the convenience store with
which is fucking hilarious.
Well, not only is it hilarious, everyone
no purchase actually, no purchase.
Everyone
which was
her,
unmotivated, but please go ahead.
Everyone treats her exactly the way that people treat a crazy person in that kind of situation. The reactions of all of the other characters in that,
sure.
The guy who comes in and just goes straight, like, don't look at her, just go straight to the case, get the thing you want and leave. The guy behind the counter who's like trying to talk to her enough that she doesn't like jump over the counter and stab him. Like, I've been in that situation recently.
But
I had a person, I had a paranoid schizophrenic come into my store and start talking to me about how there's somebody out in the parking lot who's trying to kidnap her and stuff like that. And it's like, you have to keep talking to those people and kind of like talk them down a little bit, but not get too in there.
Who was it that said, John, was it you that said that you found them repellent right off the bat?
I found them repellent.
I found them repellent.
And it was just
that's the other thing. It's hard for me to care about Deborah Winger and Richard, who are both tremendous actors, when their characters are so terrible. Like, and they're playing them slimy. They're not even playing them endearing.
I can't believe this. You found those people repellent who seem somewhat normal people.
They're anything but normal, Jim.
No, I thought they were.
They're not anything but normal. They're people that you can meet going down to the 7-Eleven.
Okay,
well, that's
true.
No, I have a problem. I had a problem with this on two levels.
Landlord can't afford to cover these fucking assholes who won't pay their rent. I mean, like, I felt bad for the landlord.
Let's be honest. The best thing about the movie is the soap coming out of the wall.
You know this?
No.
Well, I mean, look at what everyone picked.
I know.
The best thing about the movie
it's the best thing about the movie.
On the nose, metaphor.
Okay, was that Jim?
Nose.
Yeah, I said the best thing about this movie is the hot tub salesman.
He was pretty good. The problem.
He rang true.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, on two levels, this film bothered me.
I'm not gonna lie, it did it for me when Gina said "soapy titties" or whatever, like that.
Yeah, that worked for me.
That was working pretty well, actually.
How hot?
Well, I kept waiting for the goddamn kiss, and it eventually happened, but it took a long time.
So, okay, so this is my thesis. This is a cursey Hallmark movie. This is a Hallmark movie. It has all of the same Hallmark tropes, like the character who's a fish out of water, the character who's a little more, you know, like worldly,
played by an attractive actor,
right? The parents who don't really understand
Gina
it.
Rodriguez is so hot in this.
The starting and stopping of the relationship back and forth for no particular reason. Like, you could have just kept going with it. The townspeople who are on one hand ignorant of everything that's happening, and on the other hand still trying to help it along, and then they kiss at the end once everything's better, once they've overcome whatever their thing is. It's a Hallmark movie.
No, which
had
is
the Hallmark ending.
The plot is the cliche, and the plot is the cliche. It is.
It's also not, but like, talk about not
see that.
If you strip away all the weirdness, you strip away all the strangeness, it's a very cliched story.
But also, but regardless,
I'm gonna make 2 points about this. One, it offended me on two different levels. One is this watching these repellent characters who were grifters and using people and and they were not likable or lovable in any way, and they kind of go through life taking from people, and it's just, and it's
People
annoying.
that really can't afford it.
I can't believe this, Scott.
No, seriously.
You would prefer somebody who shoves a fucking fire poker into somebody's face repeatedly.
There's
a
difference.
There's a little teeny thing called context.
I know.
Okay? And there's a little teeny thing called like
there's real reality. There's high reality.
Called Schwarzenegger's dick.
No,
and it's hiding.
Now that came in
behind
before the thing started.
Miss Daisy.
No,
listen. I am with Scott here because listen,
okay,
you can have grifters like this. You can have characters like this, and they can still be lovable, endearing.
Yes.
This was not that.
No.
This was not that. These people were fucking. They were kind of shit. You know.
You've never known OCD types.
No, the thing is, okay,
Yeah, they're not charming.
Lovable.
They are not charming.
Exactly. Thank you, John.
They're not charming, but they can be
John,
lovable.
they're not
yelling,
charming.
man. This is
You can still be charming and be, OCD and weird and.
It's
but
a
John
choice.
nailed it. They're not charming.
What was the movie? Punch Drunk
Okay,
Love.
wait, let me
Yes.
I think
Punch Drunk Love. I love that.
don't like that.
Jesus.
This is. Let me the second point. The second point is this is Richard Jenkins and Deborah Winger and Rachel Evan Woods all pretending to be super poor people in a movie.
They can't do it.
They can't. They there's something
or Miranda just didn't know how to direct
because,
them.
This is probably me, and this is probably the times we're in right now. But if this came out a year before, it'd be kind of fun and charming. But now it's just kind of obscene.
Well, not only that, like they don't have any sort of. Even if the big heist was cleaning out Gina Rodriguez's apartment, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
But there's no point in the film where you love these people.
True.
There's
Well
no
said.
point. There's no point in the film.
Okay,
You love people in the other film?
I got to shut this down because complaining that she didn't make a different movie is basically what you're doing. She didn't want to make the character. She didn't want to make them charming and fail. She wasn't interested in that. That wasn't the story she wanted to tell.
Right, they're bad intentionally, and
they're bad.
They're bad to make you
well played is bad.
Well, John,
You're going on a trip. You're going on a trip with old Dolio. Like she's the main character, and and they make you like her over the course of the movie. That's okay. If that's the part that failed for you, that's fine.
Well, I want to hear Chris.
No, hold on. Let me talk to John for a second. John, you're making a point that we're talking about. Why didn't you make a different movie? The problem is she made the movie she made. We watched it, and it was a failure. I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think.
But John has a valid point.
Okay to make
she made the movie she wanted to make.
You made the movie you want to make, and it just like this is not.
No,
I didn't feel it was a I didn't feel like it was a requirement that these two characters who were bad had to charm me in order for me to understand the story of old Dolio.
That's exactly how I feel.
That all back, John. I should take that all back. You just said screenwriters don't matter.
No.
I said no. You're saying that making charming, interesting characters doesn't matter.
Hold on. Like, try to imagine.
Jim just said screenwriters don't matter.
No, I said bad screenwriters don't matter.
Try to imagine this movie with different people in it, and maybe like some of the tone down the overt wackiness, whimsicality.
I can see that.
Shit. Like,
no, turn up the wackiness. You have Jeffrey Tambor
that had some charisma.
No, was it Shameless or like the Arrested Development? Is that sugarcoating this thing?
I think it's possible to make something like this work because I felt like the ticks and the goofy shit kind of got in the way for me. But
I thought the stuff with the tremors and with the soap and with all of that took it to a really surreal place that I thought was interesting. Like it never really knows, I think, exactly what kind of movie it wants to be. Like that is the biggest.
I would agree with that.
That is the biggest failure I think it has. Is it doesn't really know if it's a drama or a comedy or just a surrealist piece about life. And that I think is a failure, and that's why I said I like this movie, but I don't love it or anything like that. Like it's fine.
Well, Tad, I think it's actually all three of those things, and I think that's how she operates.
But but it doesn't really succeed at any of those three things.
No, exactly. That's why it's a bad.
But it doesn't fail as bad as
telling-
Possessor.
No, it certainly
No.
does not. And
Oh,
that I agree. That I agree with Jim on.
No, John, I'm going to ask you a question. Does
Yeah.
this seem on the page a lot of places? This whole thing with the earthquake trope and like all these little.
The earthquake trope felt so cheap. Who the
It
fuck
felt
is that
on the
scared
page
of the
in a lot of
earthquakes?
That was
places.
like a throwaway.
The name Old Dolio sound out. You could see him typing up, going, "Oh, this is a funny name, Old Dolio."
No,
such a funny
Well,
thing.
that's what's weird though, Scott. Is what's weird is she actually is a really amazing writer.
Yeah, but not here.
But I don't disagree with you. No, I think a certain amount of characters who are scared about this is the big one is actually just like that seems flippant and just inconsequential.
To me,
But
it was
it's
the
the
weakest.
but
it
it's
was
the
weakest thing in the
reverse.
movie.
It's the
It's
reverse.
it's on the page.
It's the reverse of the conversation that she has with Gina later, where it's like you're so interested in looking in the mirror, you think you're gonna miss it when you die and all that other stuff. And the thing that she is realizing, I think, internally at that point in time is that her parents, even though they've raised her to have this belief
What do we have?
that they've to have this belief that you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't look at yourself, you shouldn't like be afraid to die and want your life and all of that other stuff. They're the ones who are the most scared of dying. They're the ones who are the most scared of losing everything. And they've brought her along on this path, and by lying to her the entire time that like this is the good way to live, and she's starting to realize that oh
It's
no, I got fucked. Like I got
Yeah.
totally fucked in this situation.
No,
because-
dude, I get all that. I get the whole story. I think the thing is, I don't think this is a bad story, to be honest. I think it's a bad execution of a good story.
No, but I'm saying like they are that scared of the tremors and they're that scared of the airplane and stuff like
Right.
that, literally because they are hypocrites. They are the hypocrites in this story who raised her to believe something that they not only don't believe, they actively believe the opposite of. And they just did it to use her to get more stuff. Like
Well,
it made me sympathetic towards her character in a way that made me enjoy
No,
that
I'm giving-
character's arc.
Let's go
Yeah.
back to the discussion.
I think he made a great point. I think he really made a good point here. But go ahead.
I do too. I all this is why I love you guys. You're all so insightful and smart, and this is a brilliant conversation about dissecting films. I'm just saying that, like, no, listen, like,
Now he's going to tell you why I'm wrong.
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. But I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. I'm going to go back to what John said earlier, though, because I agree with the whole notion that there's too much artifice in this film.
There is.
And there's too much like, and one of the major like pieces of that, elements of that for me is Old Dolio's voice. Like I don't buy it. I can't.
They went the wrong path with her characterization. Am I
So
right?
this is also the point that I should say that I
Sure,
think
but
I might have seen Evan Rachel Wood in one thing ever.
But
So
I
I
don't-
don't.
Scott, you're 100% right. It doesn't matter if you've seen her before or not. You know that is an
No.
affectation.
No,
You
and-
know as a viewer that is fucking garbage.
No.
And I can't feel for a character.
Have you ever
Throughout the
known an
entire
OCD
film.
person?
No,
It's like this the whole
in
fucking
the table read when they did this film, they should have actually talked about this a little bit. When she's like, I want to do the voice like this kind of strange.
Oh, Scott, I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they doubled down on that shit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that whoever brought that, maybe it was Evan, maybe it was Miranda,
Uh-huh.
they said, we're gonna do this, okay?
Yeah.
And
I
they
know.
said, yeah, absolutely do
Uh-huh.
that.
But Jim's
And I
right.
think that
Jim's
that's-
right. There are people as weird as this that you run into at the 7-Eleven. That would be a perfect
Yes.
place to
I
find.
don't want to spend more than 2 minutes with them doing that. So that's part of my problem.
I
with this
thought that's
movie.
what it was interesting
yeah,
to
so
make a
don't
movie
give me
The
about.
questions.
question is
Fucking 2
somebody supposed
hours
to
of
make
it.
a movie that you're supposed to feel comfortable enough to
I
Actually,
went on the other
be
direction.
with those characters?
No, it's not. It's
You
not.
just,
It's not
you
a
just
question of
fucking
comfort.
praised this movie where people are getting their faces smashed in.
Wow.
Right.
That's
Why
the
is
kind
that
of movie you want
comfortable?
to be in.
This is uncomfortable. Or
I
for
love
instance, if you
the
want to talk
shadows
about
like
artifice
people
taking
driving
you
the
out of a
city.
movie,
Check this
Evan-
out. It's not about
Movies are
comfort.
artifice.
It's
yeah,
not
what about an
comfort, it's
animated
about
cartoon? And you
quality.
get interested in the characters, you get interested in the story. You know it's an animated cartoon. Who gives a shit?
Did you know all these people were being paid to be there? They're being paid. Like, this isn't their real life.
Written for them.
Also, it's not about comfort. I could give two shits about my comfort. I care about quality, and this is not high on the quality chain. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree.
I totally disagree.
I disagree. Chris, you've been very quiet about this.
Oh no, I think I've said all. It just didn't work for me. I
All you can say.
All right, well, you said all. I guess you said it all.
I felt bad for their fucking marks because they're basically bottom feeders preying on people who can't afford to be ripped off. And
who the fuck is Michael Corleone?
Okay, you lost me there, Jim.
Got charisma.
No, he's a fucking drug dealing son of a bitch.
Michael Corleone.
Yeah.
Oh, so you say as far as characters that you could like or empathize with?
People whose morals you can agree with.
No, that's not going to.
This is not a moral question at all.
I don't want to a Godfather.
It's not
complicated.
Okay.
Let's just go watch.
I can see I'm dealing with Martians.
Also,
come to think of it, Marlon Brando talked awfully funny in those movies too.
No,
he did.
Yeah, I couldn't get with it because he kept talking about
It was all artifice.
Oh my
God.
God.
He did, but he wasn't the main star and throughout the entire fucking film, by the way.
To a complete halt in a lot of ways.
Maybe if he had done,
he has a sequel, you should look into it.
No, maybe if he had done a dance, maybe if Brando had done a dance the way Evan Rachel Wood did in this movie, I would like the Godfather
really awkward,
more.
really forced moment.
He does cut the orange slice and he flips the orange slice inside out.
He does. He puts the,
and he's got a cat.
Yeah.
And he's got a cat.
I love these people and other things. I didn't love them in this.
Okay, one thing I want to point out about this film, two things actually. One, if you've ever been in LA for a while, I spent hours writing down there, writing screenplays. I go to a Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf over in Sunset Boulevard
to fulfill your dream of becoming a cliche.
And people just like this to be wandering in and out all day long. So, as much as I want to criticize this film as being artifice, there are really weird people in Los Angeles at the street level.
Yeah, but surprise, those people are actually just like you.
Yeah, there is something about the warmth and the ease of living in Los Angeles brings out the weird in people. It really does. I wish Dan was here because he could probably could actually.
But here's the big difference.
Go ahead. But I had a second point to make. This film looked amazing.
I'll give it that.
It was they did a lot of work with the 40 millimeter cinemascope.
Yeah, I like that.
See the curvature going in there? That was Chinatown, man. You're seeing all these. The whole film was shot with basically a couple of lenses, and one was a wide angle.
Go back and watch Me and You and Everyone We Know, which is basically shot on mini DV. It's
but this film just looked amazing. So I just was in there just because it looked so sumptuous.
I know
it was a low budget film. It was just well shot.
Well, I guess part of me is just disappointed because
there it is.
I love some
because I'm a fan of this filmmaker. I'm a fan of
this would look great on a big screen, really big screen. Yeah.
And I was looking at that very shot and looking at the curvature of the architecture. And because I like mid-century architecture, I was a little bummed out. And I was like, I wish they'd used a longer lens and gotten further away to really flatten that fucker out.
No, they're making a statement about that. This is the thing that's the Panavision 40 millimeter. This is a classic lens.
It would have felt that very
different.
Well,
let's go across the board. Thumbs down for me.
Down.
Thumbs up. I liked it a lot.
Thumbs up.
Wow.
Evenly split.
Complete. 50
opposite. These are flipped.
I tell you, it did take me a while to decide that I liked it, and there was a scene.
Oh, absolutely.
She was a skeptic. She's harder on movies than I am usually. And she was like, I don't know about this, and we're watching it, and then there's that scene in the diner where Gina Rodriguez gets one of her fake fingernails broken off.
Yes,
and Evan Rachel
she
Wood's
starts going after it with the.
That was kind of tender. That was a neat moment.
It was an amazing scene, and Sheila said she's never had a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first moment where they have a relationship.
Right.
That's the first moment, because before that, she's just somebody who's invaded her world.
Right.
And it's like that's the point where it's like you did something.
But does that make up for the limbo fucking crossing of the wall and the goddamn, there's a camera there, there's a camera there, there's a camera there, and I'm gonna fucking jump over here, and I'm gonna fucking jump over here, and then and then also, which is all garbage, by the way, like it's just so fucking bad.
Yeah.
By the
Also,
way,
you-
I also walk around stores and point out where the cameras are.
You can also-
because
I've
Yeah, but also
I have
we know
them.
we know that there's no
Jim.
cameras that close to each other.
You can make an argument that this film is it ended on like a lesbian love story, but sorry, it's a spoiler. A lesbian love story.
Spoiler.
Yeah, but because it was convenient because you had
There are lesbians
four
in the
characters
world.
and two of them had to get together, or because that was what the story you want to tell. But it felt kind of convenient.
No, I think it was probably written that way because you
I know it
can
was written
see-
that way, but I'm
It
saying
did feel a little convenient, but it's not.
it
lesbian
felt
necessarily.
shorthandy. You
I-
know what I mean?
I think they're actually what's it called, pansexual, where it's just like the person, not a lesbian.
Well,
just a person who
old
loves.
Dolio needed love in any form. I could tell that.
Right, like
Right.
There's
Yeah.
She had
there's people
love
who like just
deficit.
fall in love
Oh,
with a person.
absolutely. And I felt bad for her about that. But I really came through, even though with a ridiculous
And this
characterization,
gets back
she was
to what
needy.
Miranda July is really interested in, which is, human emotion. I mean, the whole thing where she goes to the birthing classes and sees the footage of the baby latching onto the breast. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what this movie is like, people are primates, hug your children or there will be sociopaths when they grow
But I
up.
still felt
Yeah.
like I just don't feel like Miranda.
On the nose. On the nose.
But I
like
think
this
Miranda's a better artist than this, and I feel like I kind of feel like almost like 80% of this film is so forced. Like I really think that she is interested in human emotion, but she didn't understand how to like, or she didn't she couldn't come up with a way to make this feel organic. And
No, it's
and
not
her-
organic.
And her
Exactly right.
first
That's exactly
her-
right.
Her first film feels very organic,
Mhm.
and her second film actually feels very forced. And this is sort of an extension. Like, if you guys, if you liked this film, go and watch The Future, which is her second feature, and it's not very good in my opinion. And it's not terrible, but it's sort of how I feel about this. It's not terrible, but it's not good. And her first film, her debut, was sort of the most sort of real emotion that she could show as a filmmaker. She's a much better writer, in my opinion, but that's aside. I just think that this film is sort of like she was reaching for something. I'm glad you guys got something out of it, but I just don't feel like it got there for me. And she is interested. You're right, John. She's interested in real emotion, but she does get caught up. At least here, she's also a performance artist, but here she gets caught up in her own quirkiness, and it negates the rest of it. It's too much.
And
I really liked the part.
Spoiler.
I really liked the part in the parking lot of the gas station after they do all the stuff inside and come out, and she's on the phone with her mom and she's walking away, and she gets to the car and she turns around and old Dilio's crawling across the pavement towards her, and she gets close to her and she stops, and it's in that 2-shot, it's set back, and she looks down and she takes out the list and she crosses it off.
Right.
And they don't do anything, like they that's it, they cut right there.
But so forced.
No, I liked it. Like I thought it was funny and interesting at the
No.
same time, because it's like she had figured her out to the point where she knew she was going to do something like that, and like now is your moment to have the crawling to the breast,
Right.
like
In a gas station parking lot.
no, but the
again, but that, and this goes back again to, it's a Hallmark movie.
I'm gonna be
Hallmark movies are overdetermined. This movie is overdetermined.
No.
Everything is driving the plot forward, but there's times where that's okay. And when you're talking about what is on some level a romantic
This-
comedy, that's okay.
Right.
yeah, I'll give you that.
you got to cut this stuff. But the
Very
only
good.
thing this movie did was actually make me have a crush on Gina Rodriguez, dude.
Okay, but the scene before in the bathroom where the lights were out and the earthquake happened, this
That was my favorite scene.
no, dude, this film rose above itself and got
Yes!
to a mystical level.
Scott and I are on the same page with this film,
Because
dude.
it kept developing and developing. You're watching it turn into stars, and the stars.
I wish it didn't. I
It
wish it
was
didn't have the
just-
stars.
I wanted-
I wish it was
to get-
just
No,
black.
it was so
I
amazing.
wanted to get above this movie, and for a couple minutes it did, and it was
Yes.
fantastic.
I wish it was just solid black for the entire point.
So-
Like I did
so
that's
like
a-
the stars.
But that's a radio
So-
play, sir.
But no,
So?
that's a
Scott?
good point. There's
Scott?
another
Yes,
creative
100,
choice.
100, Scott, 100.
Thank
That's
you.
another
Let John
creative choice.
talk.
And I think it would have been interesting, Tad, that if they'd used the exact same dialogue, delivered exactly the same way, but just in a dark bathroom, that would have been very interesting too. Just a different creative choice.
Well, and you could even do something with that where like when
But
you're in
Mir-
a
Miranda
when
doesn't
you're
do
in a
that.
room when you're in a room that goes pitch black and you're standing there for a long time and slowly you do start to see light.
Right.
Yes.
Like you could have
You could
star-ish-
slowly dial it up.
you could have star-ish
Yeah.
things
Oh,
in
yeah.
there
Mhm.
too without doing the star field and making it three-dimensional and
Yeah.
starting to rotate it and stuff like that. Like you could do that. You'd have that emotion occurring in there.
Right.
And that would have felt a little bit less cheap to me. Like that felt kind of cheap.
Yeah.
It felt like, look at how existential we're being in this moment.
But I needed that. I really need that, like a drug.
I
At
needed it
that
too,
point, I
Scott.
needed that.
I needed
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
It's my favorite.
Maybe
part
that's
of
the
film.
difference between liking this movie and not.
That's good. Good point. Very good.
Right.
point.
Difference
Yeah,
between
because
the
it
art
was
Well,
an
and
because,
artificial
but
moment.
also, like, do you like as a fan of Miranda, like I'm waiting for those moments,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and there were actually too few in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, interesting
Like,
enough.
like if you watch her first film, there's moments like that all throughout.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
Like it's
Yeah.
like you're waiting for these amazing
filmic
beautiful.
transcendental moments.
Well, and it's not even her filmmaking. It's actually just her writing and the wonderful acting. It's like you're waiting for these moments that are impactful and emotional and earnest.
Striking and unexpected.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Yes.
Fellini. It's
Above
kind of
the
a
material.
Fellini Jones that you get.
Yeah.
Right.
with her.
Oh, I
Right.
did. It was
And
great.
finally she did it in this movie, and I'm with Scott. That was my favorite part. It was transcendent. It brought the film out. And then when it comes back, and I know Tad, you liked when she was running around the convenience store, but immediately when it came out of that, I said, no, we're back to the shitty movie that we were watching before.
Yeah, to me,
In
that was
some
one of
ways,
the best
yeah.
scenes in the whole movie is when she came out of there and she was transformed by the experience and she went into the convenience store and she was a different person. She was transformed.
I
She was
didn't
on
like it.
fire.
Okay,
And
I
when
didn't
she
believe
said,
it.
when that customer
Transformed,
walked in,
Poked up. Take your pick.
no, when that customer walked in and she said, yes, yes, come in.
Uh,
I laughed so fucking hard. I thought that was
All right.
hysterical.
Well,
Well,
I just her voice ruined the whole movie. For
no.
me.
Well, it
Oh,
was,
fuck her voice.
God.
oh my goodness. Well, good pick. It was. I didn't like it, but it was a good pick. You know.
I didn't like it either. Hey, we're split. This is 50-50. This is perfect.
No, I just
split
before
on
we
the
move on, before into what we've seen, I want to just point out that in my band, back when we used to rehearse, which we don't do anymore because of the COVID thing, you had a rehearsal space room is like an interior room, and you have to turn all the lights off to make sure you haven't left anything on, right?
Right.
You're looking for so turn all the lights off and look around and see if you left a amp on or the mixer on. But the thing is, in that moment, we usually staying around for like 5 to 10 minutes talking about stuff, and we're just disembodied voices in the void.
And if you
It
open
was-
your mouth and if you stand there with your mouth open, you can hear more.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
weird.
guys- but
That's
I'm
actually
also-
true
but I'm
because it's
also-
like it reverberates because your mouth open, you can actually get more sound.
Yeah.
But then in the band, other guys in the band, Brandon and David and Mike would just talk in the complete darkness for a long time, talking about important band stuff, and it's weird how effective.
But would any of you talk suddenly like this? Would you say like, hey?
Yes,
Joe,
that's
I would-
actually
I would
that's the
flee the-
only
I'd flee the
that's
room.
the
I'd flee
only way I talk
I
in the
would
dark.
flee the room.
I'm gonna talk this
Hey,
way
by
to
the
Jared
way,
forever
you-
now.
you-
This
you-
is
Yes.
my new voice.
I'm going to
Hey,
talk this
Scott,
way.
I
Hey,
sound like
hey,
an old
hey,
prospector.
Scott,
Yes,
Scott, you missed that A minor on the.
I know. Well, I know, but I've got this.
So,
you know.
Like if you would come in on the 1 instead of the 2, like that would
I
be.
just realized-
Hey, I always
just
come in on the
realized what that
1. God
voice is.
damn
I
it.
just realized what that fucking voice is. It's Napoleon Dynamite.
I told you it's Napoleon Dynamite with lesbians.
Now the circle is complete.
No,